Welcome to the Zero Trust Journey podcast, created by cybersecurity practitioners for those walking the same path. We share real stories, hard lessons, and hard-won victories from the field, so you can sidestep the pitfalls and deliver the wins. Grab your coffee, tune out the buzzwords, and let's get into the real story right here on the Zero Trust Journey podcast.
Welcome everyone to our another session of I Don't Trust What You Say at the Zero Trust Journey podcast. My name is Victor Monga. I am your producer and co-host for the show. With me, I have Tiernan as our co-host today. Tiernan, do you want to give a quick introduction?
Yep. Great to be here. Tiernan O'Malley. I am the Director of Client Services at Framework Security and looking forward to sharing the news for August.
Excellent. Okay, so the first one I have is on August 29th, Illumio. They have published closing out the month. Illumio gives us the rundown on the top cybersecurity stories of the August, and unsurprisingly, Zero Trust is a major theme. I agree with that, Illumio. I think this is a great recap of everyone and anyone who's feeling behind on the month's news or events. What's telling is how Zero Trust is no longer just a buzzword. We talk about this during this show every time. It's a fundamental part of the broader security conversation now. I'd ask my co-host, are we seeing the industry finally moving from just talking about Zero Trust to actually implementing it at scale, or are we still there where only 10% people are taking it seriously?
No, we are definitely seeing the adaptation. And like you said, it's not a buzzword, it's becoming a theme. And so it feels like the narrative of shifting from what is it to how do we actually do it? And then next, Sage Security's risk roundup for August is out, and it's highlighting a continued barrage of cyber attacks. Let's dig into how a zero trust mindset is the only way forward. This piece really drives home the why behind zero trust. It's not an academic exercise, it's a direct response to the relentless attacks we're seeing. The key takeaway for our listeners should be that traditional perimeter security is dead. The real question is, how are small to medium-sized businesses supposed to keep up with advanced threats, Victor?
Yeah, I think we covered this a little bit during our podcast, but as the news says, small medium, at the end of the day, it's a cybersecurity strategy. So Zero Trust is a strategy. Even if you're small, medium, large enterprise, you anchor your strategy and then you continue putting efforts as a priority comes to that strategy. So you don't have to overwhelm your business. You don't have to really shock the culture, if you will. Gradually, slowly crawl, walk, run, and you continue building on that strategy. The next one we have on August 6th from Cybersecurity Dive. Early in the month, a story from Cybersecurity Dive confirmed that what many of us have been pushing for. The US government is not backing down from its Zero Trust strategy. That means it's getting serious now. This is significant because government mandates often create a ripple effect across the entire private sector. When the federal government puts its weight behind a strategy like this, Zero Trust, it signals a long-term commitment and drives investment and innovation in private sector as well. For our listeners in the industry, this is a clear sign of where the market is heading. Now, the big question is execution. Can they meet their own aggressive deadlines? And we shall see about that.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, once the government, buys in and doubles down, it's not just a policy. It really moves the whole market. So it's more about how fast and how well it's getting rolled out. And then going into our next for Black Hat. Big news from Black Hat 2025. Researchers unveiled a critical remote code execution vulnerability in a popular enterprise API gateway, which they've dubbed Apocalypse. This is the kind of discovery that sends security teams scrambling. APIs are the glue holding modern applications together, and a flaw like this is a golden key for attackers. It highlights a massive blind spot for many organizations and proves that even with Zero Trust, the security of your core infrastructure components is paramount.
And that's the thing, right? Just because you have a Zero Trust strategy, it's not a silver bullet. I know a lot of the vendors and the technology partners, if you will, they have created that. First, they created the fear that you must buy my product or Blinky Box, and then eventually they said, we are the silver bullet. And that's not the case. Just because you have a strategy and you're continuously working on it, you got to keep maturing it. It's not going to be silver bullet. It just helps you anchor that strategy and continue reiterating and trading on top of that. On August 14, Bleeping Computer, they reported mid-month, we saw the rise of a new, highly evasive malware strain called Chrono Stealer. Ooh, funky names, that's significantly designed to bypass modern EDR and multi-factor authentication. I think no surprise there. At the end of the day, whatever control you have it, one way or the other, it's going to get breached, it's going to get exploited. That's why the layered approach of zero trust. This is sobering development. We tell everyone to enable MFA as silver bullet, but ChronoStealer shows that attackers are actively engineering ways around it. This forces a shift in thinking. Multi-factor authentication is still essential, but it's not invincible. It has to be a part of deeper layered defense as zero trust strategy that can spot malicious behavior after a successful login. So just because I see a stranger taking out a beer out of my fridge, I'm not going to assume that stranger is supposed to be there. I'm going to ask questions. Yes, I do have a door. I do have locks. I do have everything. But if someone was able to pick that lock and enter into my house, I'm going to continuously ask that question. And that's what zero trust drives.
Yeah. And realizing that, it's equally as important, the keeping people out as well as your internal environment once they're in. It's not one or the other. It's the complete embrace. And then on to the next. Mandiant released a major threat intelligence report this month, attributing a series of sophisticated supply chain attacks to a newly identified state-sponsored group, ATP-44. This is a huge deal. For years, the focus has been defending your own perimeter, but ATP-44's tactics show that your biggest risk might be the software you trust from your vendors. This report is a wake-up call for every organization to scrutinize their software supply chain and demand better security from their partners. So as we've mentioned, it's not just keeping people out of your own environment. It's also, who else has my data? Who am I blindly trusting?
And that's the conundrum, right, Tiernan, where in order to function in a business, I have to trust someone or a vendor or a third party who's going to give the service to me to accelerate the business. But attacks like this, starting with SolarWinds, actually, that was the first large-scale, I would say, supply chain attack I had seen or noticed, where now that's coming more and more. So with zero trust, it's again, like just because that person or that company, that entity have API access to your data or have some sort of access back to your company, doesn't mean they can just do whatever they want. You're going to keep questioning every time they come in, which means validation on transactions and all that. So I think with zero trust, it gives you that layered defense where I'm going to question every time someone is doing what they're doing in digital world. This has nothing to do with the personnel trust. It's about the digital world. August 27, Krebs on security. Brian Krebs dropped a bombshell report late in the month exposing a massive data scraping operation that harvested professional data from a top-tier networking platform. While not a hack in the traditional sense, this story is critically important. It demonstrates how publicly information or available information can be weaponized at scale for incredibly convincing spear phishing and social engineering attacks. When we put it on social media, even as a cybersecurity practitioner, I'm very careful what I post on social media. But every now and then I also slip. Like I post a picture standing at a conference, or I post that, hey, this is a platform or technology that I'm enjoying. These things create a profile. It blurs the line between public and private data and should make very professional rethink that what information they share online, like what do you put out there? It's not just about the Twitters and the snapshots of the world. It's also what you put in a blog, how much you share, because that really creates a sense of how Victor thinks, how Victor actually have an opinion about certain things. So that creates a profile. And with AI these days, you don't need a smart professional FBI Quantico trained person. You can just throw everything Victor has to offer online. And some things, even if it's not like easily accessible, AI will find it for you. And that's the scary part coming up now. You don't need like a large enterprise grade operation to just find out what Victor likes, what he doesn't like, what are his opinions about certain things, and then just play it against me. That's scary.
Yeah. Absolutely. And to your point, we really need to start treating our digital footprints like assets that can be used against us. It's not just about breaches, it's about complete exposure. And just because data isn't public doesn't mean it's harmless. And going on to our next, August 3rd, the Reserve Bank of India continues to push financial institutions toward adopting zero trust. This is huge on a global regulatory scale. On the 13th, the bank's expert committee delivered the framework for responsible and ethical enablement of artificial intelligence. It includes 26 targeted recommendations across 6 strategic areas: infrastructure, capacity building, policy, governance, protection, and assurance. I think it's very important to be intentional about the way you are adopting. It's not just about embracing AI quickly, it's about doing it with the right guardrails. And I think this framework is a great model worth watching.
I think since my family is from India and I hear a lot of stories, especially when it comes to banking and the scams, 100% I'm behind this initiative. And RBI, if you're listening, if you ever need a subject matter expert and opinion, feel free to invite me over. I would love to go there and hang out with you guys. Next story I have to cover is from Cloudflare. On the vendor side, Cloudflare dropped new AI governance tools into its Zero Trust platform, ZTP, basically giving companies more control over how AI tools are being used inside their organizations. I think it is really smart and necessary at the same time move by Cloudflare, as these AI tools get baked into day-to-day workflows. Visibility and control are no longer optional. Embedding governance directly into the zero trust layer is where this needs to go, where you are managing both human and machine behavior. Tiernan, I know you live and breathe in this space of governance. What's your take on this one, where Cloudflare is actually trying to put the governance as part of their zero trust platform?
I think introducing it in general, as you mentioned with the layering, I think it needs to be applied wherever it can be. And I think we're seeing more and more vendors and tools adopt this. And again, if you're not ahead, you're behind. So I think once people start jumping on the bandwagon, I think it's great. And then moving into our next, Netscope. Netscope just filed for IPO, reporting annual recurring revenue of $707 million and a pretty impressive 33% year-to-year revenue jump. Following its IPO, Netscope is now valued at $5 billion. For investors, Netscope's valuation and growth shows just how big the opportunity in zero trust cybersecurity is. Companies like Netscope are really setting the pace when it comes to protecting today's remote and cloud-based work environments. And as we're seeing, these organizations go public and investors really being drawn to them, I think that is just going to provide more and more confidence in what's going on with the market there.
I think that's the new name of the game, right? Innovation, but also having that integration, really bringing that execution to the customers. I know I used a lot of adjective in that sentence, but that's what becoming the crucial for zero trust strategy. So I'm happy for Netscope and all the people who work there. Well, that wraps up our August edition of the Zero Trust News Rundown. Thank you for listening. We do this every month, straightforward updates, expert analysis, no marketing fluff. If you found it useful, share it with a colleague, and we will catch you next month with more updates from the front lines of Zero Trust Journey. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Tiernan.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on the Zero Trust Journey. Now it's your turn. Step into the spotlight, share your story, and be part of the journey. Subscribe to Zero Trust Journey on LinkedIn for the latest news, events, and giveaways. Until next time.